you do for your clients, how do you access the people for those campaigns? Do you have to sign up to receive, newsletters or how do you connect with customers? Or how do you get that base to hear the branding messages?
I'd also clarify that when it comes to mobile, we wouldn't actually do the execution side. We'd work with a mobile agency. We'd strategize over the top. A campaign that we designed last year for Unilever for Magnum ice cream. Do you have Magnum in the States? I don't know. Maybe not. The idea was that we got people to take photos. The Magnum ice cream sells itself on this essential experience. I don't know how familiar you are with sort of ice cream. It's a chocolate ice cream. I don't know how familiar you are with those categories, but globally you pretty much market chocolate to women. That's where you lead, and Magnum is marketed that it's a sensuous experience. I have sex basically. And the idea is that you sort of it's sexy. It's all their advertising sort of always, it's sort of hinting at things and sort of the kind of undressing of the ice cream. It's not really full on, but it's basically there. And the campaign was, well, you take a photo of yourself being sensuous with the ice cream and then send it in. So the push was on the product, on packaging. So we weren't pushing content out. We were getting them to push content into us. And then an interactive campaign that then worked across the website where you could go and see how your photo rated and that kind of thing. There are quite strong restrictions on push and permission in China. You can't just spam. If you're a Chinese state-owned company or you're a Chinese agency, you can pretty much break those rules and then you'll get away with it. If you're an international brand, you don't do that. You follow the letter and play clean.
It seems like you're working with a lot of major multinationals, big companies.
Yeah. Ultimately the main value add we bring is quite abstract. It's connections to people and it's strategy. Those are very difficult things to sell to Chinese companies unless you've got the name of a McKinsey behind you. A small company like us that sells on product, like the value we add, we've got nowhere talking to Chinese marketing directors ever of Chinese companies. Of international companies, you're right. Even then, I've got to be totally honest. It's difficult if the decision maker is local. Very difficult to sell strategy. I think that's a very China thing. Perhaps we're just unfortunate in that the clients we're dealing with or the level we're at, but from my experience, it's very difficult to sell strategy in this market. The people that will buy strategy for China tend to still sit in New York, London, maybe regional, maybe Singapore, Hong Kong, but mostly it's someone quite further up that's prepared to make that big, bold decision on a strategic idea.
How many other firms do what you do? Basically, consumer communication. How much competition is that?
I think we need to define what we do. If you define what we do as consumer communication, or even you define it as brand strategy, heat. But if you define it in terms of our model, this idea of connecting a brand to its unique social network, I don't know anyone else that does that anyway, which makes it hard to sell.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your work with the wine companies? But Chinese people, I remember earlier on that Chinese people don't really understand about wine and how some of the work doing blocks in and stuff.
Yeah, well, we've worked for many years with the Bacardi group, not Bacardi the brand. And we worked in particular with a New Zealand brand that they bought 2 years ago called 42 Below Vodka. I don't know if anyone's heard of it. It's not big. It's in that kind of Grey Goose market, so it's a super premium vodka. It's expensive, which means it sort of targets certain markets. I think it's got some sales in the States, New York, LA. Anyhow, the 42 Below sell globally it's a great product, but most consumers don't really care that much about the quality of the vodka they're drinking until you get to that Grey Goose. This is brand image, and then 42 Below just doesn't have the kind of mass brand appeal of Grey Goose yet. So globally, the way that they've built sales is focusing on bartenders and people that really, really care about the materials they use. And alongside bartenders is people that really care about good cocktails. So that's not a massive market in China, and it's not an immediately apparent market that there's heaps of people that love cocktails. If you go to a bar, if you go to a club, most of what you'll see in terms of international liquor consumption is people buying bottles of Chivas and a jug of green tea and mixing it themselves on the table and playing baskets. That's the mass market. And Chivas and Johnny Walker, I think these are China's for both of those, so it's their biggest market globally. It's overtaken the US volumes. Vodka and cocktails is still pretty niche, but the great thing about China is the no small numbers catch. No matter how small or defined your niche in China, the number of people in it will be big, right? And the trap that most marketers fall into is going big, 1.3 billion numbers and not going for a niche. So if you try and get mass here, whatever you're doing, you're competing against people that can do it cheaper than you because it's China, there's no IP protection, they reverse engineer it and they do it cheaper because their costs are low. If you go niche and build a relationship with a niche, it's a brave decision. It's a difficult decision for marketers to make, but it's always the right decision because you can build a strong relationship and you can have a value-added product. So what we did with 42 Below is try to identify and build the relationship with that consumer group, people that care about cocktails and bartenders that care about their job enough to want to use good materials and you know how to make a good drink. The method we had of doing that was offline events, trainings, getting in there, getting into bars, offering bars support to train their staff. But online, we've built a social network platform for cocktail culture in China. So we've employed someone for the last 2 years that picks content from overseas about how to make good drinks and news from inside China about what's happening with the cocktail world, and basically builds this conversation and the comments have grown, and it's sort of more of an ongoing two-way conversation. It's more like a forum than just a website. So yeah, it's focused on a niche and there's kind of an educational element to it, but it's growing that conversation. I think that's the great thing about the internet is the conversation thing, right? That you by where you talk to your consumers, they can also talk back to you, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
This is for Phil. How did you come up with a name for your website and what was behind that?
The name of our company, I can't take the credit for that. My business partner, Ben Shipley, came up with that. The logic behind it is that one, it's a name that no one ever forgets, which is basically the best thing you can do with the name of your company, right? You tell something that people go, oh. Confucius is probably the oldest brand from China, and we're a brand strategy company. And Confucius was a source of wisdom from China, and we deliver wisdom to our clients. It all added up. And it always starts a conversation.
I think the Chinese people will have to take royalty from you. Take a royalty. Okay, any others? Well, if there's no question, I think this is what we all can do. They are both on Facebook, I think. I'm going to give you the Facebook account for Steve. It's Ying Chuan Liu. YingChuanLiu @hotmail.com. And Phil, what's yours?
Just search my name.
Okay. No, right. Yeah, if you just search his name, and then you can make a friend with all of them and continue the chat. That's a great thing about the internet. You can continue the conversation and continue to engage them. I've been watching, especially Confucius say from the day it started until today, and it's just really exciting, some of the things that they do. So we continue to watch how this new media, new companies develop in China. So I think if there's no questions from you all, then I think we shall close this session, and I'd like to ask you all to give a big thank you to both. we do have gifts for them. Very special chopsticks though. We have a new edition of our T-shirt that's coming up, and I will send that to you. I won't say anything; it will be a surprise for you. Okay, but we'll just give you some.
Thank you very much.
chopsticks.
Thank you.